Okay, what? A flying nun. We'll probably hear about that. We're back. This is show 175. We have right here Livingston Taylor, better known as Richard Livingston, whatever, Father Livingston. There he is, little big hands. And of course to my, okay, that's it. Of course, don't ham it. That's what we have him for. And of course to my
name is Gino Ferraroni because he doesn't remember my name.
I know what your name.
Two L, he doesn't even know what I'm talking about.
So, do you have anything to say before we start?
Yeah.
What?
It's very nice to meet you, Richard.
The pleasure is mine.
And you're a gentleman.
Thank you.
Tell us a story and forget about him. Don't worry about him.
Don't worry about me. I don't.
Okay.
Know. All right. So, you're going to talk about the your grandfather. One of the things, and we had. Oh, we're off. No, and the Boston Fire Department, the historical material that you have, and the Dalmatians. Weren't they in a movie with 1001?
Yeah, 101.
Oh, sorry. Well,
different
no, with inflation, it's 1001.
Different one.
Yes.
My grandfather, his name was Jacobus Waite. He was a vivacious.
Look at that.
My grandmother and grandfather, they married
from the Netherlands, right?
1898, yes. He was from Bergen op Zoom, Holland, and from the Netherlands. Yep. He was a vivacious young boy, and he liked all teenagers of his day. He liked to dance, and the dance of the time where he grew up in Holland was the traditional dance was the Russian Cossack. And the hardest part about it is when you squat down and you kick your knees and stuff like that. But like most kids, they all love that stuff.
Why would they do that? Why did they do that?
Well, dancing and
yeah, they hurt their knees later on.
But it also required a lot of strength and a lot of balance, and not only dancing, he did gymnastics.
That's why I took up ballet.
I can believe it. I can believe it that you would take up ballet.
Yes, I certainly would.
But he was being able to. He had hoops in the cellar that we used to do pull-ups and push-ups and spins and stuff like that. But never did he realize that bicycling and all that stuff was a great way to strengthen his muscles and his arms and his legs. That would be handy for a 5'5" man who was competing for.
His wife looked.
Yep, my grandmother's a beautiful woman. He was competing for the position of the Boston Fire Department.
When did he come here?
I'm not really sure of the date, but I do remember him and his brothers came over through Ellis Island, and in the day where they had to stay there and have their names. But the Boston Fire Department, as most people would know, was founded and opened in 1678. So it's the oldest and the first fire department in the United States of America.
Like that.
Is this a picture of him?
This is a picture of my grandfather.
He's in uniform.
In his, this is his formal uniform of Jacobus Waite, and what you'll learn as we go through this is what he was doing in the Boston Fire Department in the training.
That's an interesting name.
Yep, Jacobus Wilhelmus Johansson Waite. That's
write that down.
No, you write down because
Jacob William John Waite.
There you go. Okay.
So the next is the application to the Boston Fire Department. Back in those days, this is all you needed was
30?
He was born. He was born December 7th, 1898, and he started with the fire department on December 22nd, 1933.
Wow. Another wonderful year.
Another one.
When Hitler took over.
Oh, you and your wonderful years.
Thank you. A wonderful year.
But in those days, that's all you needed to do for an application to a job is an index card.
What's your name?
Today, you're doing 15 pages of information.
No, you have to be online, please.
Yeah. And so, and we already saw him in his formal uniform, but I'd like to show you what he was in Life magazine in March 30th, 1942. Shirley Temple was on the cover, but the reason that Jacobus made Life magazine was one of the things that they were doing at the time. The Defense Department, believe it or not, was involved with the Boston Fire Department, and they were training the dogs for the war effort. So, as you can see there, dogs don't naturally, as we all know, they don't naturally climb up ladders. So my grandfather is at the top of the ladder here, and that's his dog Sussex. And he's training Sussex to get over his fear to be able to climb up the ladder. And the reason for this is so that they could not only aid the firefighters in the fire effort in the city of Boston, but they were also being trained for the war effort. So as you can see, they didn't have to get over the fear of all sorts
Yeah, a
of
little
different
pouch
things.
on?
He did have a pouch because in the fire department they would be carrying different supplies in the pouch, but in the war effort they might be carrying messages back and forth. So then as we go on from there, the first thing was
sort of like online betting, right?
A lot like that. This here, as you can see, is to show that the dogs would be able to get over their fear and to climb up. So then they would be ready for action. And in being ready for action, what you'll find is that here you have the 5 dogs up above. They basically weighed about 50 pounds, and their height was no more than 19 to 23 inches tall when they were sitting like that. Now, in the second picture that you see in that block is a scent test. The scent test was how that was done, Ed, was what they would do is they would take their wallet and they would put it on that number grid. All the firefighters would put their wallet on that grid. The dogs were locked away, and then they'd let one dog out, and the dog would go right. In this particular case, Bingo Bango went right to 8 and picked up his master's wallet. Knew right where to go, which one to do. So that was the scent test. The reason for the scent test is very important, and you'll see in the next slide that we have
You could find them.
where the training is.
You could find them if you had to.
But not only that, not only to find them, but they did not want the dogs to take food from a stranger.
Oh, all right.
So they would know who their master was and stuff like that, because what was happening in the war effort part of it, they would feed them poison. And so they would feed the dog poison, so the message would never get to the front lines or what have you.
Oh my God.
So this way here, the dog knew if it was carrying a message or doing something, it wouldn't take food from anyone but its master. So then when that piece of the training is complete, you'll see in this slide here, which is, you have the hearing. Dogs, as we all know, there's a dog whistle. You and I can't hear it, but in this particular case, the dogs not only can hear the whistle, but they can hear low groans of human people.
Really?
So in this particular case, the training was the firefighter was, deliberately part of the training would go into a burnt out building and bury himself under some wood and stuff like this and let off a little groan. The dog was trained to hear it and go right in, find the person. If the firefighter was conscious, they would give the dog a message. He would bring it back out of the building to let them know, I found him, and they would escort him back in. And not only that, if the person was unconscious, what the dog was trained to do is take something from their body, like a piece of clothing or something, and bring it back.
So they can smell it.
Exactly. So they would know when he brought it out, he
that he's
found
okay.
this person, so they'd go in. So in that particular case there, so then you have, as in the second slide you see there, the dog is just standing over. Now he's found him, so he's standing over, guarding the firefighter until somebody comes to respond to it. Now in the bottom slide that you have there, this here, my grandfather is taking the dog, in the second slide, that's Bingo Bango, who is with his master, who's buried under debris. So he came out, he got my grandfather, who's in the bottom slide, and took my grandfather back to where his master was, under the debris, you see. So these are some of the major things of the training effort of the fire department. I'd like to also note that here, in the city of Boston, believe it or not, one of the worst, and the National Fallen Firefighters Foundation book, there's another picture of my grandfather, where he's in the...
What year is the book?
So this book here is from, this is the most recent book, but the photos are dated. Let me see, the copyright of the book here, it is, let's see, 2016. So in this particular case here, we go to the picture and you'll see the Coconut Grove.
Oh, that's 42 or something
Yeah,
like that?
19. Now, the Life magazine article, so you can see all that training was paying off. That was in March of 42, but in November of 42, some people today may look at it as divine intervention. Boston College was playing Holy Cross in a football game, and Boston College was toted to win. And in those days, we don't have cell phones, so as you can recall, well, you'd remember this. They used to do ticker-tape, wiretap,
Yeah.
Morse code. You remember that? That was in your youth, right?
I didn't have a youth.
So what would happen then is they were calling from all over the country to say, "Are you sure it's Holy Cross winning? Are you sure it's not B? No, it's Holy Cross."
Wow.
Well, when BC had lost, they had been scheduled to go to the Coconut Grove to celebrate,
Wow.
and they didn't go. They didn't go. Unfortunately, on November 28th, 1942, when they lost that game, it was like divine intervention. They didn't go. Unfortunately, it's the worst fire in the city of Boston.
Wow. Anybody died?
492 people died
Oh, Mama
in the
mia.
Coconut Grove.
It must have been a big building.
It was, and they had like there was the Melody Room was in the basement of the restaurant.
too
But
bad.
my grandfather fought the fire. He was on the Boston Fire Department at the time, and his call was out. And that's where the alarms came in. You have a first alarm, which is a small fire. Second alarm, a little bit more, but you know you want to
Right.
bring in another ladder.
Yeah.
The highest you can go is a 5 alarm. I believe from what I looked at in a document today, there was probably 10 calls. Even though it was a 5 alarm fire, there were 10 alarms pressed on the button over the course of that night. And they were coming from everywhere. In those days, Piemonte Street and all those streets in the Back Bay were all narrow streets, cobblestone. So a few fire trucks at the time blocked off everything. So then and also in the Fallen Firefighters magazine, you'll see where Sussex, my grandfather, this is my grandfather on the floor underneath the debris, and that's his dog that's come to his aid. And so Sussex, the rescue dog, locates a training victim in this 1942 rescue exercise.
Wow.
Once located, Sussex leaves the victim to summon help before returning to the injured to stand watch and assist. The assistants arrives and they come there and they help them out. So it paid off to have the training going on simultaneously with the Defense Department. So that being said, I was rude. I should have introduced myself. My name is Richard Livingston.
Why, I introduced you.
I know, but you call me
Don't touch me.
Livingston Taylor.
Oh, well, it's
Go
okay.
for it. Here we go. Any questions you have of me?
No, that's
Yeah, why are you
really
here?
beautiful.
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
Beautiful
because you said
story.
you were desperate.
Oh, that's right. I said, and I am desperate, I tell you. Well, do you have any more slides?
Nope, that's... Oh, one other thing I'd like to share with you is my grandfather also...
Did he retire? Did he work all his life in the fire department?
He did, but he didn't retire from the fire department. He had passed away
Oh, okay.
while he was still employed.
54.
In 1954, on August 31st, 1954. But before that, the training did not just include just the dogs. When they came out with the oxygen masks and
Yeah.
stuff like that, my grandfather was one of the ones that was testing those oxygen masks
Oh,
for
okay. Yeah,
the fire department.
They made a
the
lot of
gas masks
progress.
as well. Yeah, and they
Lot of progress.
and before they went national, he was one of the ones that did the testing for those things to see, do they work, are they going to be helpful? And needless to say, people don't realize when you talk about the public servants, especially of the firemen, like, you know, when they have these major fires today, with all of the chemicals,
Yeah.
all of the styrofoams and the different fibers and stuff like that, some of the fires are a lot harder to contain, but also there's a lot of toxicities that are going on.
I know.
So it's become quite a job.
Yeah.
But the people, I'm happy to say that I know so many people that would love to be a firefighter, you know, and it's a wonderful, you know,
Because you're giving
profession.
for others.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good public
Protecting other
servant.
people.
You know, I know this is winter time, and as you can see, here's my grandfather in front of the Neponset fire. This is the firehouse he was at. It was in Neponset Circle on the Dorchester-Quincy line.
It's so beautiful.
Just over the bridge. He's the second one in from the left, and that's his dog, Sussex. And
Holding his head up.
He would come with the family, but they were not only like mascots for the fire department. They're wonderful, loyal dogs. They're very, very good. They're low key.
Yeah.
And
They're beautiful.
they're easy to maintain.
Yeah.
I see one on the left wearing a
very
jacket.
loyal.
Yep. It might have been a vest. There might have been a rescue vest to keep first aid kits in the jackets that they were wearing in the day.
Or the dog was wimpy.
No, I don't think so.
Very nice.
But it's been a wonderful, experience to be able to be here and share this with you. If I were to give a public service announcement with regard to fire department in the winter,
Yes.
I find that it's people don't realize that outside their house is a hydrant, and there's hundreds of hydrants all over Westford and the city of Boston, what have you. And that being said, a lot of them, when we have these major snowstorms, nobody thinks to go out and shovel them out. And if there were to be snow, rain, sleet, ice, that snow would all harden and it'd be difficult for the fire department.
Oh yeah.
So since I was a kid, I'm one of 9. I have 5 brothers and 3 sisters, and we always would go out.
You're super.
We'd always go out and we'd shovel out the hydrants to help the fire department, because they'd be plowed in. The street plow would come along, and
I could just see hot water somebody putting on it. That would really help.
it'd crack and break and everything else. Yeah.
Oh, it's encased in ice. What happened?
Yeah, but
I know what it
the
is.
cast iron would crack.
Do you have any questions for Richard?
I'm saying people don't realize what the fire department do.
Yeah.
Their life is in danger.
I like when they go
only
on
help
fires
them.
and they start throwing rocks at them.
That's a sad commentary today.
Yeah, stupid.
That things like that, vandals. And,
When they come to police, fire department, and everybody else that is trying to help other people, they're there to help. They're not there just to give you trouble.
No.
And I'm glad you're not a policeman or fire department or a policeman or a nurse. You should be a nurse, because you're too concerned about everybody. Oh, are you okay?
Yeah.
You make a good nurse.
Well, it's a thing today where we really have to get back to the basics with regard to respect.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
You have public servants like
Good luck with that.
Yeah.
I suppose, but we have police
But I
and
think
fire and nurses.
Eventually,
and
it's like a rotation. Maybe the next turn.
You're waiting for the pendulum to come back?
It's going to be, like you say, a little more respect and more consideration, and trying to get along with everybody. Right now, it's like a soup.
Yeah.
Prepare the soup, because you don't know what you are.
Sounds like a PSA.
Yeah.
Public,
From Campbell's.
yeah, there you go, yeah, PSA.
But no, it's been, my family has always had a healthy respect because of my grandfather.
Oh yeah.
And what he did, and going forward with the fire department. When my grandfather passed away, it was during a hurricane, and the trees had all come
September?
down. I think it was
54, that was some biggie.
I don't know if it was Donna or Carol, but one of them.
Yeah.
And the trees had all fallen down, and in those days you waked in the home, and the Boston Fire Department came out in force and moved the trees for a block away from the street all the way up to my grandmother's home, and they were there, and they've always been that way, and we've always
helping.
turned the same.
Even
respect.
today, I'm telling you, the fire department, the police, they're really trying to help other people. Unfortunately, some people that don't, I don't know if they're sick in their head, or they just hate to a point where they want to destroy the police department. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I think it comes from what we do, how we direct our respect to them. I think the younger kids today can emulate what we're trying to show them.
You're giving a good example. He gives me a good example. I try to give a good example. So if everybody rotate the same way, you know what I mean, we will have no problem. But for some reason or another, I think it's I don't know what they teach at the school. There should be respect.
Well, you know, I taught in middle school. I worked for the MBTA for 33 years in administration, and I retired in 2016, and I was writing a children's book with my son. He was doing the writing, the literary part, and I was doing the illustrations. And after a couple of months of it, I said, Brendan, I really have to do something a little bit different. And so he said, why don't you become a substitute teacher?
Right.
And so I did, and I have to tell you, if I knew then what I know now, I would have retired and become a teacher over 20 years ago. I loved it. And when I got the job, I was teaching middle school, and that's 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old children. And he said, are you crazy, Dad? But I loved it. It was the most rewarding experience of my life. I left to move here to Westford from the Milton, Quincy area. And all I wanted to do was make a difference. And I found that I did, because some of the toughest kids were all, you know, misty-eyed and crying and everything when I was leaving and giving me hugs and all of this other stuff. And it was just so humbling to think that I had made a difference in their life.
You made a difference.
And I hope to continue that, you know.
And I'm sure those children that were under your, you know what I mean? They will also maybe do the different. They're gonna.
I think you're right. I think you're right, because a lot of them, even though I taught from 2016 to the present, up until January 1st, and a lot of the kids that had graduated and gone on came back to see me.
Right.
It was just a wonderful, wonderful experience to know that that I made that kind of a difference, and I hope to continue doing that.
That you're trying to help them.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, and trying to be busy too.
I was giving them. I was, you know, it's just like raising children. You can give them all the guidance you can, and you just hope they take the right path. And
he does the same thing. He's trying to help other people. You know, you have a story to tell. Come in TV. Just tell people. So maybe run around, so a lot of people will come. You know, because he's only trying to help people.
Right. No, I know.
You know.
I just want to mention our next scheduled show is Who Knows When. Not to be confused with the song Where or When. You don't have anybody, do you?
At the moment, no. We'll let you know. We'll bring somebody here.
Hold the phone.
Hold the phone.
Hold the phone. We can always stop at Market Basket and get somebody. Yeah, right. We'll go to Whole Foods.
I found it interesting that you had Googled my grandfather and found him. Found him on.
Hey, I'm not the stupid, you know.
No, I never said that. I never said that you were. But it's interesting because these images that you see in Life magazine, all of the photographs and everything in Life magazine were bought by, you know, a company in New York, and so they control the rights to all of these pictures.
Shouldn't this book be?
That's good.
It's old. Won't it deteriorate with you touching it?
I keep almost everyone in my family, my brothers, my sisters, my cousins, they all have the Life magazine of March 30th, 1942.
We have on the back. We have Lucky Strike.
Yeah.
It means fine tobacco. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I remember I was a kid in New York.
Unfiltered.
Huh?
Unfiltered.
Of course.
Yeah.
When you get the full blast.
Pall Mall and Tarryton and what have you.
Oh yeah.
But I thank you. I thank you both for giving me the opportunity to come and speak about, you know, the wonderful public servants that we have and how the history has evolved, especially with regard to training of Dalmatians and being mascots in the firehouses, also with the equipment, how it's evolving every day. We've seen how the telephone from 1953 is now a cell phone that you can, you know, touch, and it's a computer. And it's the same with the equipment in the fire departments throughout. And, you know, it's sad because sometimes when you have budgetary restraints and stuff, the first place they kind of go at is the fire department.
They push them out.
And the police department and stuff like that. And it really shouldn't be that way. Because when push comes to shove, whether it is a small fire or a major fire, you need these public servants.
You need
the equipment and the more efficient equipment.
The professionals, yes.
But you also need, if there's an emergency, medical emergency, you need the police department. You need the ambulatory care. So it's unfortunate. It should never be politicized, especially
Yeah.
with when they risk their life the way they do to go out into
And the veterans too, they go and fight for this country, and they, you know what I mean, people don't realize it when they come out. Some of them have no legs or no arms, you know what I mean, you have to help them, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you have to have respect, at least have respect and say thank you for serving,
Well,
you know.
yeah, and that's the
many
fate of the
people
world.
don't understand that.
We take care of one another.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
the way to
That's the way it is.
Yeah.
If you take care of one another, everything will be okay.
harmonious world that we live
Yeah.
in.
Are you in my site too?
Big words, huh?
Yeah.
Harmonious.
I bought that for $1.
Wow.
See? You learn from him.
I'll learn from you.
No, you don't learn from me because I'm
Okay,
a pain
thank
in
you
the
for antagonizing me.
butt. Yes, sir.
Do you have any parting words, like telling him to get out of here?
No, it's been a wonderful experience to meet you, to have an opportunity to be on your show.
Don't touch me.
You're priceless, my friend.
Thank you.
But, you know, the only parting words I would say is that public service announcement, if we have any snowstorms or what have you, go out, shovel out the hydrants
That's
that are
right.
near your home. The other thing is, with this cold weather and the snap that
You
we're
gotta
having,
be careful.
look in on your senior citizens, you know, that they're okay,
Right.
that they've got heat, they've got blankets, whatever they need.
Looking on myself.
Somebody's got to look in
somebody's gotta
on
do
somebody's
this,
got to
do
look
this,
in
do
on
this,
you. But that being said, I thank the people here at WestfordCAT for allowing me this opportunity to brag about my grandfather.
You should be
You know.
happy. You know,
Yeah.
I'm sure I'm proud of my grandfather, and I'm sure he is proud for his grandfather.
Yeah. So
And when you don't do right, they slap you right in the hand.
Yeah.
Come here, I love you. Bang, another one.
he was a wonderful guy. You know, he would help people get that were down on their luck.
Yeah.
Give them a spare room in the house till they got
Really?
on their feet. Yeah,
Yeah.
he did it. He did it for a number of families, like a half a dozen families.
Now
or
you'd
more.
be afraid to do it.
And well, I hope we don't have to be.
I know.
I'd like to get back to where we have a sense of normalcy. Where
Well, I'm
we
waiting for the
can-
pendulum to come back.
and,
He's still
and,
swinging left.
and you and me both. You know,
Not to mention him.
and I'm hoping for society to look at a better day.
A better day will come.
You know, he's from Venice, the real one.
Really,
Yeah.
the boats and all. Streets are made of water.
About
Instead of
an
paved
hour.
with gold.
About an hour and a quarter, right near the water.
Yeah. So,
All right, so I want to thank Livingston here, Taylor, to be thanking you to be with us today. Very interesting. I want to thank, what's your name again?
I don't remember.
Good. All right, and we don't know when we'll be back. I know it's by, so if you want to be on the show, just contact WestfordCAT.
Right.
I'm talking here.
I'm sure you are.
You could either email them, call them, or drop by on Route 40.
Yeah.
I don't know who's the comedian, who's the straight man.
He's a straight
That's
guy, you
routine.
don't know. All right, so a little music, please.
Ed Sullivan is dead, but Cohen isn't. And when it comes to weather, Cohen's smart. As New York as you get, his money's on the Mets, which goes to show that Ed's a Joe who always bets his heart. You'll hear a slick review or two from Nicky. And Cantor Something Berg will sing some song. There's weather news and shtick, enough to make you sick. You'll be glad you came over.